Good morning, everybody. Jean-Yves Duclos is a Quebec MP, and he's got a Twitter thread about housing. And I try and hold everybody accountable. I try and look at everybody's Twitter accounts. And I find the reality of the world that we live in and what the Liberals put out in their messaging and in their tweets are just vastly different places. If you got all of your news from just Liberal tweets, you would believe the world to be a very different place than what it actually is. So with that in mind, we're going to look at housing and Roxham Road today. But first, housing. So Jean-Yves Duclos says, quote, "Our government believes that every Canadian deserves safe, affordable, and accessible housing. That's why we've invested more money in housing over the last 3 years than any government in Canadian history." Thread. Since 2015, we've invested billions in housing repair, construction, and affordability, and provided homes to nearly 1 million Canadians. Wow. In BC alone, we've already invested more than $650 million in housing, supporting more than 93,000 families. And that doesn't include a nearly $1 billion 10-year agreement with the province to help build and repair affordable housing. Affordable housing. What does that mean? Last tweet in the thread says the federal government is back in housing, and we're doing it together as partners with provinces and territories from coast to coast. Sounds great until you realize the billions they're spending is in a market that's saturated with laundered money that's being cleaned in the casinos and through high-powered real estate. Global News reporting on February 21st, you're reading that right, 2016. And just for a quick aside, if you don't know what Operation Sidewinder was, we've known for a very long time that this is what the goal is with Chinese Triads and what they're doing. The RCMP and CSIS were raising bells on this in 1997. Jean Chrétien left office in 1998. 5 months later, where did Jean Chrétien work? Anybody know? I'll let the comments tell you. It rhymes with mina, okay? All right, so Global News reporting one chart shows how unprecedented Vancouver's real estate situation is. Oh my goodness, that's Vancouver's real estate situation. That's insanity. And I'm not going to go through this. The chart speaks quite easily for itself. But why are they spending billions of dollars in Vancouver? Because normal Canadians can't afford housing. Here's how Chinese gangs are laundering drug money through Vancouver real estate. It says, quote, "Criminal syndicates that control chemical factories in China's booming Guangdong," sorry, I've said that terrible, but whatever, "province are submitting narcotics, including fentanyl, to Vancouver, washing the drug sales in British Columbia's casinos and high-priced real estate, and transferring laundered funds back to Chinese factories to repeat this deadly cycle." A Global News investigation shows the flow of narcotics and chemical precursors, a rising death count in Western Canada caused by synthetic opiates, is driven by a sophisticated organized crime group known as Triads. And I've done other videos on this before, so I'm not going to get into that. But again, let's look at this chart. Oh, money laundering through high-priced Vancouver real estate. And look at what the charts show. The price, the residential average sale price, January 1977 to January 2016. Wow, right? That's an incredible jump. And that's 2 years ago. And we've known about all sorts of this activity for at least a little while. And the government's choice has been to spend billions in that market. Weird, right? And I find it strange that millennials, the people who used to purchase the starter homes, have been priced out. They've been absolutely priced out of buying a house. So here is Huffington Post, and I understand how reliable and newsworthy Huffington Post is, so take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. This just kind of goes to prove my point, and the link is in the description. Feel free to read for yourself. It says, here's how much home Canada's peak millennials can afford. It says, woe be the millennial homebuyer in Canada. Things were hard enough in recent years, with house prices rising rapidly in many cities, but a new report from Royal LePage highlights just how much tougher buying a home has become in recent months. Autoplay videos. The federal government's new mortgage rules instituted at the start of the year have reduced the buying power for peak millennials by about $40,000, the report said, reducing the mortgage they can get by 16.5%. A quote, peak millennial is someone who is part of the largest cohort of millennials, which the report defines as those born between 1987 and 1993. And it's not like the typical peak millennial could afford much to begin with. Quote, with an average salary of $38,148, this generation typically has a maximum home buying budget of $200,246, the report estimates, and I scroll down. Working couples have a better shot at getting in the market with a maximum price of around $406,000 for the average duo, Royal LePage noted, and pairing up isn't the only way millennials are using to get into the market. In major cities across Canada, a growing number of peak millennials will save pool their money with a partner and or borrow funds from their parents, many of whom are downsizing in retirement and can financially contribute to their child's first home purchase, the report noted. So we're poorer, our buying power is less, and nobody can afford a home. Oh, and by the way, 42.5% of your income goes to taxes, right? So if you and your partner make $80,000, the example used in the article is 83, but let's use 80. So both of you make $40,000, right? Let's say that. And you're paying $35,000 in taxes, or close. Let's say 33, 32, even 30. Is that insanity? Does that make sense to you? What's available? Let's just muse in, where is this? I planned this. Milton, there it is. Haha. Milton, Ontario. 2 beds, 1 bath, $0 to $450,000. Note, that's $500,000 almost. We could even put it up to $500,000 and probably not find much more than condos. But here are the home buying options for millennials, $0 to $450,000. Is that not despicable for a country that is trying to bring in people who need help? Why is there nothing, absolutely nothing, for our young professional up-and-comers? They have nowhere to live, nowhere to even purchase to live. Owning a house is so far beyond somebody who is 19 or 20 years old at this point in time, or 25 years old at this point in time as a single person, making $40,000. And if you're making $40,000, good job, because that means you've got a good job. $450,000, $429,000 is way too much debt to take on when you're making that much money. And even both of you, when you're giving the government half of your salary, it doesn't make a lot of sense to then buy into a house, and on top of the house price, you have to pay taxes, condo fees in this one, and this one, and this one too, this one here too, this one too, and this one too. So you've not just the mortgage, you got the condo fees that go with it. Unbelievable. We have a country that is mass importing people with nowhere to put them, and a homeless problem. What is going on? I know what's going on, but it bears repeating. Why are we letting them do this? On the other side of things, more people are getting paid off by Roxham Road. Here is a report from December 12th, 2018. Roxham Road residents near Canada-US border to be paid for asylum seeker disruption. Quebecers living by the Canada-US border, where thousands of immigrants have crossed illegally into the country since 2017, will be eligible for payments of up to $25,000, the federal government announced Wednesday. They're just giving people $25,000 because they live near Roxham Road. The federal government created this crisis. This person right here, Justin Trudeau, created this crisis via his tweet trying to one-up Donald Trump and ending up looking like a complete fool, except that we realize now that was the intent. He wanted to bring those people. He wanted to encourage them to come. But this is the result of that tweet. Fewer than 1% of more than 28,000 irregular asylum seekers, illegal border crossers, have been removed from Canada so far. Quote, with just over 28,000 asylum seekers have crossed the border into Canada illegally since the beginning of last year, fewer than 1% of those have been removed from the country. Those figures come as senior government ministers maintain they expect that close to 90% of those who cross the border at unofficial ports of entry will see their application to stay fail. They don't qualify. They don't have any status here and don't deserve status here, 90% of them. Why are we letting this continue? It's insanity. Here's one from today. Women accused of smuggling people into Quebec for money. And really, this is the amount of information that's in the article. I'll read you the whole article, but there's a link to the tweet and to the article in the description. It says, woman accused of smuggling people into Quebec for money. They give us her name and literally nothing else. It says the Canadian Border Service Agency has arrested a woman accused of organizing the illegal entry of asylum seekers into Canada in exchange for compensation. The CBSA alleges in a news release that Olyanka Celestian Opalai has helped several individuals cross into Canada in the summer of 2017. Quote, it is further alleged that Opalai was operating as part of a network of smugglers who organized travel for these people in exchange for compensation. The news release continues. The CBSA says the illegal entry came via Roxham Road in Montreal, Quebec, which is where the vast majority of irregular, illegal asylum claims. This is terrible language hijacking. Vast majority of illegal border crossers have been made. When it comes to irregular migration, the CBSA works in close cooperation with other governmental departments and agencies, as well as international partners, to uphold the integrity of the border crossing process and to ensure the border is safe and secure, the CBSA said. In 2018, there were 19,419 people arrested by the RCMP for crossing the unmanned border to make asylum claims, including 18,518 in Quebec. The number was down slightly from 2017 when there were 20,593 border crossers intercepted. In 2016, there were only 2,479 interceptions. So this is an incredible increase, and there are people, Canadians, being paid to bring people back over the border. And really, when I said it didn't give us much more information, it doesn't talk about who the organized smugglers are, or the human trafficking aspect of things, or who this woman is, what her ties are. It's just like very little information on a story that should be massive. Like, why isn't this splashed over every newspaper? This is incredibly insulting to Canada, really. So it's interesting. We live in a country where the Liberals live in one world, where housing is being invested in by the government by the billions. And Vancouverites live in another world where their housing prices have skyrocketed because of Chinese gangs laundering real estate money through Vancouver casinos. And yet the government spends billions of dollars for low affordable housing in British Columbia. Wild, right? And millennials can't afford anything. But if you live near Roxham Road, you get $25,000 plus whatever compensation you can find from whatever organized criminal syndicate approaches your door and says, hey, do you want to make a couple of bucks to drive some people across the border? What a crazy world do we live in. And this is what Justin Trudeau is running on. Incredible. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful day.